I should have seen it coming. The way she kept checking her phone during the drive, the nervous energy radiating from her like heat from pavement in July. But I was focused on being supportive, making sure my tie was straight and my jacket looked decent for her company's annual gala. The venue was impressive, some upscale hotel downtown with crystal chandeliers and waiters carrying champagne on silver trays. I'd been to plenty of these corporate events before, just not for her company. She worked her way up to senior marketing manager over the past 3 years, and tonight was supposedly about celebrating the company's record-breaking quarter. "Remember, there are going to be some very important people here tonight," she said as we walked toward the entrance. "The new CEO will be making his first public appearance since taking over." I nodded, straightening my shoulders. I'd worn my best suit, nothing flashy, but respectable. Clean-shaven, hair combed, the whole 9 yards. I wasn't trying to impress anyone, just be a good husband supporting his wife's career. The moment we stepped inside, I noticed her posture change. She became rigid, scanning the room like she was looking for someone specific. Her grip on my arm tightened. "There he is," she whispered, pointing toward a group of executives near the bar. A tall man in an expensive suit was shaking hands with what looked like board members. That's when everything went sideways. She turned to me with this look I'd never seen before, cold, almost disgusted. Her voice dropped to a harsh whisper. "My new CEO is here. Don't embarrass me. You look like you don't belong. Use the service exit." The words hit me like a physical slap. I stood there for a moment, processing what she'd just said. Around us, conversations continued, glasses clinked, people laughed. Normal sounds for a normal evening that had just become anything but normal. I looked at her face, searching for any sign that she was joking or just stressed. Nothing. Her expression was stone-cold serious, maybe even a little panicked. Like having me, there was some kind of emergency she needed to handle. "You want me to leave?" I asked quietly. "Through the back. Please. I can't have you here right now." The please almost made it worse. Like she was doing me a favor by letting me down easy. I glanced around the room one more time. Men in suits that probably cost more than my monthly salary. Women in dresses that sparkled under the lights. Everyone looked comfortable, confident, like they belonged exactly where they were. Maybe she was right. Maybe I didn't fit in. "All right," I said simply. Her relief was immediate and obvious. "Thank you for understanding." I turned and walked toward the back of the venue, past the coat check and down a hallway that led to what I assumed was the service area. A few catering staff barely glanced at me as I pushed through a door marked staff only and found myself in the hotel's back alley. The night air was cool against my face. I loosened my tie and pulled out my car keys, walking slowly toward the parking garage. Behind me, I could hear the muffled sounds of the party continuing. Music, laughter, the clink of glasses. 20 minutes. That's how long the entire evening had lasted. As I sat in my car, I started thinking about the past few weeks. How she'd been acting different, more secretive about work. The way she'd been making comments about important clients and people who matter. Always with this undertone like I wouldn't understand the significance. I started the engine and pulled out of the garage. On the radio, some talk show host was discussing the importance of knowing your worth. Perfect timing. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat. Her name flashed on the screen. I let it ring. The phone kept buzzing. First call, second call, third. By the fourth ring, curiosity got the better of me. "Hello. Oh, thank God you answered." Her voice was shaking, high-pitched with panic. "You need to come back right now? There's been a terrible mistake." I pulled over to the side of the road. Something in her tone was different, not the cold calculation from 20 minutes ago, but genuine terror. "What kind of mistake?" I didn't know. She was crying now, actual tears making her voice thick. "Nobody told me who you were. The CEO, he saw you leaving and asked Bennett who that man was, and Bennett said he didn't know. But then Olivia from accounting recognized you from the company newsletter photos, and..." She was rambling, barely coherent. I'd never heard her sound like this before. "Slow down. What exactly happened?" "They know who your father is," she whispered, like she was sharing state secrets. "Clayton Jensen, the board chairman's son, the majority shareholder." Oh, there it was. I sat in my car, watching traffic pass by, and said nothing. Let her fill the silence. The CEO went completely pale when he found out. He grabbed my arm and asked if I knew you were Clayton Jensen's son, and I said no. And he asked where you went, and I had to tell him that I asked you to. Her voice broke completely. In the background, I could hear voices, urgent conversations, someone saying, "Where is he now? You asked me to use the service exit." I finished for her. It sounds so much worse when you say it like that. Because it was worse. Please, she begged. Please come back. The CEO wants to apologize personally. He's asking everyone where you went. He said there's going to be an emergency board meeting about this. I looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. Same face, same guy who'd walked out of that hotel 20 minutes ago looking like he didn't belong. Funny how perspective changes everything. Why would there be a board meeting? Because, she took a shaky breath. Because he thinks I insulted a major investor. He thinks I treated the board chairman's family with disrespect. He's talking about damage control and company reputation and my job. The words came out as barely a whisper. I almost laughed. Almost. The irony was pretty thick. She'd been worried about me embarrassing her, and now she was the one facing consequences. I see. That's all you're going to say? I see. Her panic was shifting toward anger now. This is serious. Do you understand how serious this is? I understand that 20 minutes ago, you looked me in the eye and told me I didn't belong at your company party. I understand that you were so embarrassed by me that you asked me to sneak out the back like I was some kind of problem you needed to solve. But I didn't know. Know what? Know that I was worth something to you? Know that I had value beyond what you could see standing there in my off-the-rack suit. Silence on her end. In the background, I could hear someone calling her name. I have to go, she said quickly. They're looking for me. But please think about coming back. Or at least call your father and explain that this was just a misunderstanding. I'm going home, I said calmly. What am I supposed to tell them? Tell them the truth. Tell them you asked your husband to leave through the service exit because you were ashamed of him. Tell them exactly what happened. I hung up and turned off my phone. The drive home was quiet, peaceful even. I thought about how she'd looked at me in that hotel, like I was a stain on her perfect evening. 20 minutes later, I was apparently the most important person who'd been in that room. Same man, same suit, same everything. The only thing that had changed was what she thought I was worth. That told me everything I needed to know. Back home, I poured myself a glass of water and sat in my kitchen, thinking about how I'd ended up in this situation. My father, Clayton Jensen, built his investment firm from nothing back in the 80s. Started with a small office and one assistant. Now Jensen Capital has stakes in dozens of companies across the region. The company where my wife works, Dad's firm owns about 40% of it. I never told her because it never seemed relevant. We met at a coffee shop, started dating, got married. I work as an independent business consultant, make decent money, live a normal life. I never saw the point in dropping my father's name to impress people or get special treatment. Maybe that was naive. My phone had been buzzing every few minutes since I turned it back on. 7 missed calls, 12 text messages. I scrolled through them while finishing my water. Please call me back. The CEO is asking everyone about you. This is getting worse. They're talking about an emergency board meeting tomorrow. Where are you? The last one was from 10 minutes ago. Silas from legal wants to speak with you personally. I set the phone down and tried to remember the last time she'd seemed genuinely happy to be around me. Not proud of what I could do for her career, not excited about some networking opportunity, just happy to spend time with her husband. Couldn't pinpoint when that stopped happening. My phone rang again. This time I answered on the first ring. What now? It's official, she said without preamble. Emergency board meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. to discuss my conduct towards stakeholders. Stakeholders? That's what they're calling you now. A stakeholder. Her laugh had no humor in it. Emery from HR pulled me aside and said this kind of incident could constitute grounds for immediate termination. I walked to the window and looked out at my neighbor's house. Normal people living normal lives, probably not dealing with emergency board meetings about basic human decency. And what did you tell Emery? I told her it was a misunderstanding, that I was nervous about the new CEO and made a mistake. A mistake. Yes, a mistake. People make mistakes. Interesting way to describe deliberately humiliating your husband in public. Silence for a moment. Then, look, I know how it sounded, but you have to understand the pressure I was under. New CEO, all these important investors. I just wanted everything to go perfectly. So you decided I was the problem that needed to be eliminated. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? More silence. I could hear voices in the background again. She was still at the office, probably getting briefed on damage control strategies. "Can you call your father?" she asked finally. "Can you explain that this was just a communication issue between us? Maybe if he calls the CEO directly." No, I'm not asking my father to clean up the mess you made. You treated me like garbage because you thought I wasn't important enough to matter. Now you want me to prove I'm important enough to save you. That's not fair. What's not fair is spending 3 years married to someone who apparently thinks so little of me that she'd rather send me out the back door than introduce me to her boss. I could hear her breathing, probably trying to figure out her next angle. "I never thought of you that way before tonight," she said quietly. "I was just scared." "Scared of what?" "That I'd embarrass you by existing." "Scared that I wasn't good enough," she whispered. "For that room, for those people. And if you were there, they'd see that I'm just ordinary." For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "So you decided to make me the ordinary one instead." "I made a mistake." "You made a choice," I corrected. "And now you get to live with it." I hung up again, but this time I didn't turn off the phone. I had a feeling this conversation wasn't over. The next morning, I was working at my home office when my phone started ringing at exactly 9:15. Right on schedule. "It's over," she said before I could even say hello. Her voice was hollow, like someone had drained all the life out of it. "They fired me." I saved the document I was working on and leaned back in my chair. "Tell me what happened." The board meeting was brutal. They had me sit in this conference room for 2 hours while they deliberated. When they called me back in, the CEO looked like he wanted to disappear through the floor. I waited. She needed to get this out. He said they'd reviewed the incident and determined that my conduct toward a major stakeholder's family member was grounds for immediate termination. No severance, no recommendation letters, nothing. They're calling it gross misconduct. What exactly did they say about the incident? Everything. Her voice cracked. Someone had talked to the catering staff, got the whole story about me sending you through the service exit. One of the board members asked if I understood the gravity of disrespecting the Jensen family, considering they're negotiating a major expansion deal with the company. That was news to me. Dad hadn't mentioned any expansion deals, but then again, he rarely discussed specific business with me unless I asked directly. Bennett was there too, she continued. He told them about how I'd been acting strange all evening, how tense I got when the CEO arrived. Said it looked like I was ashamed of my own husband. Smart guy, Bennett. Probably saved his own job by being thorough in his observations. But the worst part was when they asked if I tried to contact you after the incident. I had to tell them about the phone calls, about begging you to come back, about asking you to call your father to smooth things over. I could picture the board members' faces during that revelation. Nothing says, "We made the right call," like hearing that the person you just insulted had to be begged to fix the situation. Heather from the marketing department was there too. She said she'd overheard me making comments about how some people don't understand how important networking is and how I needed to manage my image carefully. Apparently, she'd been documenting these conversations for weeks. Heather. I remembered her from a company picnic last year. Sharp woman, definitely not someone you'd want as an enemy if you were playing office politics. So they think this wasn't an isolated incident. They think I've been systematically undermining my own marriage for professional gain. Which, she paused, and I could hear her trying not to cry. Which might not be wrong. At least she was being honest now. "There's more," she said quietly. "Word is already getting out. Ruth from Dodson and Associates called me an hour ago. She said they'd heard about what happened and were rescinding their job offer." "What job offer?" "I'd been interviewing there for the past month. Senior director position, 30% pay increase. I was going to tell you about it after the gala. Make it a celebration." So she'd been planning to leave her current job anyway. The gala was supposed to be her victory lap before moving on to bigger and better things. Instead, it turned into a career suicide note. Ruth said they can't risk hiring someone with judgment issues regarding professional relationships. Her exact words. I pulled up my email and saw 3 new messages from various business contacts. Word was definitely spreading through the professional networks. In a city this size, everyone knew everyone, especially in the corporate circles. How many other places are going to hear about this? All of them. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Clayton's firm has connections everywhere. Every major company in the region either does business with them or wants to. I'm basically blacklisted. She was right about that. Dad's network was extensive and loyalty was a big deal in his circles. Disrespecting family was the kind of thing that got remembered and talked about. I went to Howard at Stone Marketing this afternoon, she continued. He wouldn't even see me. His assistant said they'd heard about the Jensen incident and weren't interested in pursuing any opportunities with me. The Jensen incident. That's what they're calling it. Like it's some kind of case study in how not to handle client relations. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. But then I remembered standing in that hotel hallway, being told I didn't belong, being asked to sneak out the back like some kind of embarrassment she needed to hide. What are you going to do now? I don't know. The defeat in her voice was complete. I've been in marketing for 8 years. I have a reputation, contacts, references. Had a reputation. Now I can't even get a call back from companies that were headhunting me last month. Maybe it's time to consider a different career path. Maybe it's time for you to call your father and explain that I've learned my lesson. And there it was. Even after losing everything, she still thought this was something that could be fixed with the right phone call to the right person. I'm not doing that. Why not? This has gone far enough. I made a mistake. I lost my job. I'm effectively banned from working in my field. Isn't that enough punishment? You keep calling it a mistake, but we both know it wasn't. It was a decision based on who you thought I was and what you thought I was worth to you. So what happens now? We just what? Pretend this never happened. I looked out my office window at the street where we'd lived for the past 3 years. Normal neighborhood, normal life, normal marriage. Or so I'd thought. I think we both know this isn't something we can pretend away. 3 days passed in relative quiet. I worked on my consulting projects. She stayed in the guest bedroom, and we moved around each other like strangers sharing the same space. The silence wasn't uncomfortable for me, but I could tell it was eating at her. On Thursday evening, she finally made her move. I was in the living room reading when she appeared in the doorway wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last year. Her makeup was perfect, hair done, the whole production. She'd even made dinner. I could smell garlic and herbs coming from the kitchen. I thought we could talk, she said, settling into the chair across from me. Her voice had that soft, vulnerable quality she used when she wanted something. Really talk, not just these angry phone calls and short conversations. I closed my book and waited. I've been doing a lot of thinking these past few days, she began, clasping her hands in her lap. About what happened, about us, about everything. And I realize I owe you more than just an apology. Go on. I was scared that night. Not of you, never of you, but of everything that room represented. All those powerful people, all that money and influence. I felt like I was pretending to belong there. Like any minute someone would figure out that I was just a girl from a middle-class family trying to play in the big leagues. Her eyes were getting watery now, perfectly timed. When I saw you standing there, looking so comfortable and confident, I panicked. I thought if they saw us together, they'd realize I was ordinary too, that I didn't deserve to be there. So you decided to make me invisible. I made a horrible decision based on fear and insecurity. I know that now. She leaned forward, reaching for my hand. But I also know that I love you, and I love our life together, and I don't want to lose that over one terrible night. I let her hold my hand, but didn't squeeze back. What about your career? Your reputation? That's all gone now. But maybe that's for the best. Maybe I was so focused on climbing the corporate ladder that I forgot what actually matters. You matter. Our marriage matters. The performance was impressive. I had to give her that. The right amount of vulnerability. The perfect mix of taking responsibility while making excuses, the strategic use of physical contact. If I didn't know her better, I might have bought it. I've been thinking too, I said, about the past few months, the way you've been acting around certain people. Her hand tensed slightly on mine. Remember the company picnic in June? When your department head was there with his wife. You introduced me as just my husband when he asked what I did for a living. Not this is my husband, he's a business consultant, or even this is my husband. Just my husband, like it was some kind of burden you had to acknowledge. I don't remember it that way. Or the dinner party at Caleb's house in August. You spent the entire evening talking about your work prospects and your networking strategies. Every time I tried to contribute to a conversation, you'd redirect it back to something career-related. Like the only value I had was as an accessory to your professional image. She pulled her hand back. You're making it sound like I've been treating you badly for months. Haven't you been? I've been focused on my career, yes. I've been working hard to build something meaningful. I thought you supported that. I do support your ambitions. What I don't support is being treated like a liability when those ambitions are on display. She stood up abruptly, the vulnerable act starting to crack. So what? Every conversation we've had about my work was me treating you badly. Every time I talked about wanting to advance or make connections, that was me being a terrible wife. Every time you acted like my presence would somehow diminish your success. Yes, that's not fair. You don't understand the pressure I'm under, the competition, the way women have to work twice as hard just to be taken seriously. And there it was. The shift from vulnerable wife seeking forgiveness to victim of circumstances beyond her control. You're right, I said calmly. I don't understand that pressure, but I do understand respect. And respect doesn't disappear just because you're under pressure. Oh, please. Her voice was getting sharper now, the mask slipping completely. You want to talk about respect? You've been sitting here for days acting like you're some kind of martyr because I hurt your feelings at a party. I hurt your feelings? Yes, you did. And I apologized. I explained why it happened. I took responsibility. I've been trying to make things right. But apparently, that's not enough for you. I stood up too, facing her directly. You know what's interesting? A few minutes ago, this was all about your insecurities and fear. Now suddenly, it's about me overreacting to hurt feelings. Because that's what this is. You're punishing me for one bad night. One bad night that cost you your career, which you could fix with a simple phone call to your father. There it was again. The expectation that I should clean up her mess using family connections. And why haven't you called him yourself? What? My father, Clayton Jensen. If this is all just a misunderstanding that needs to be cleared up, why haven't you called him directly? Her mouth opened and closed without sound for a moment. I didn't think that would be appropriate. But it's appropriate for me to ask him to override the business decisions of an entire company because my wife made a public spectacle of disrespecting his son? It wasn't a public spectacle. Bennett was there. Olivia was there. Heather documented our conversations. The catering staff saw everything. Half the corporate leadership in the city knows about it by now. How is that not public? She was quiet for a long moment. Then, so that's it? You're going to let my entire career be destroyed because I made one mistake. I'm going to let the consequences of your choices play out exactly as they should. My choices. She laughed bitterly. What about your choices? You chose to hide who you were from me. You chose to let me think we were just another middle-class couple struggling to make it. If I'd known about your family connections from the beginning, what? You would have treated me better. I would have understood the situation better. The situation. Yes, the situation. The dynamics, the relationships, the way things work in those circles. I stared at her for a moment, finally seeing her clearly. You mean you would have used me better? That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you meant. You're not upset that you hurt me or damaged our marriage. You're upset that you miscalculated. You threw away something valuable because you didn't recognize its worth. Stop twisting my words. I'm not twisting anything. You just told me that if you'd known about my family's money and influence, you would have handled things differently. That means your behavior toward me is based entirely on what you think I can do for your career. She was quiet again, but I could see the anger building in her expression. You know what? She said finally. Maybe you're right. Maybe I should have done my research better. Maybe I should have figured out that my husband was connected to one of the most influential investment firms in the region. Most wives would probably want to know something like that. Most wives would treat their husbands with basic respect regardless of their family connections. And most husbands wouldn't let their wives walk into a career-ending disaster when they could prevent it with one conversation. I looked at her standing there, beautiful, angry, and completely missing the point. 3 years of marriage, and she still didn't understand that the problem wasn't the consequences she was facing, but the character she'd revealed in creating them. I think we're done here, I said quietly. What does that mean? It means you've told me everything I need to know about what I mean to you, and what our marriage means to you. So what happens now? I picked up my book and headed toward my office. Now you get to figure out what your life looks like without using other people to build it. 2 weeks later, I was signing the last of the divorce papers when my phone rang. I'd been expecting this call, honestly surprised it had taken her this long to make one final attempt. The papers were delivered this morning, she said without preamble. No tears this time, just exhaustion. Good. Everything should be straightforward. I'm not asking for alimony. You can keep your car, and I'll buy out your half of the house at current market value. That's very generous of you. It's fair. Silence for a moment. Then, I've been thinking about what you said, about consequences and choices and all of that. I set down my pen and leaned back in my chair. And I think you're right. About some of it, anyway. I did make choices based on what I thought would benefit my career. I did treat you differently depending on who was watching. Progress, I thought. Actual accountability instead of excuses and manipulation. But I also think you made choices too, she continued. You chose to hide your family background. You chose to let me navigate professional situations without knowing the full picture. You chose to watch me struggle in circles where your name could have opened doors. And there it was. Even in admitting fault, she couldn't resist trying to spread the blame around. You think I should have used my family connections to advance your career? I think partners are supposed to help each other succeed by leveraging family wealth and influence, by using whatever resources are available. That's how the world works. I almost laughed. See, that's where we disagree. I think partners are supposed to respect each other regardless of what resources are available. Easy to say when you have those resources. I've had those resources our entire marriage. They didn't stop you from treating me like an embarrassment when it mattered. She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her tone had shifted. Less defensive, more calculating. I've been talking to a lawyer. Bennett recommended someone. Bennett, always in the middle of things, apparently. About what? About whether I have grounds for a different kind of settlement. Considering that you withheld significant financial information during our marriage, I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Meaning I spent 3 years thinking we were a middle-class couple living on a tight budget, making financial decisions based on incomplete information. My lawyer thinks there might be an argument for some kind of compensation. Compensation for what? For the opportunities one missed because I didn't know who I was married to. The networking events I didn't attend because I thought we couldn't afford them. The career moves I didn't make because I was trying to be financially responsible. I stared at the divorce papers on my desk, suddenly understanding that I'd completely misjudged the situation. She wasn't calling to apologize or find closure. She was calling to let me know that the fight wasn't over. Your lawyer thinks you can sue me for not name-dropping my father enough times during our marriage. My lawyer thinks I can make a case that you deliberately concealed assets and connections that affected our joint financial planning. I never concealed anything. I work as an independent consultant. I pay my own bills. My father's money has nothing to do with our household finances, but it has everything to do with access and opportunity. And you kept that from me. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the neighborhood where we'd built what I thought was a life together. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, I said slowly. You're upset that I didn't use my family connections to advance your career. And now you want to sue me because I didn't use my family connections to advance your career. I want fair compensation for 3 years of missed opportunities. Missed opportunities to do what? Climb social ladders? Network with rich people? Marry into influence instead of love? Don't make this about love. If this was about love, you would have told me the truth about your family. If this was about love, you wouldn't have sent me out the service exit. Another long silence. I could hear traffic in the background. She was probably calling from her car, maybe parked outside her lawyer's office. Howard from Stone Marketing called me yesterday, she said finally. The same Howard who wouldn't see you 2 weeks ago. He heard about the divorce proceedings. Apparently, word is getting around that I might have been kept in the dark about certain family connections. He's reconsidering his position. Of course he was. The possibility that she might have access to Jensen money was enough to overcome concerns about the Jensen incident. Funny how quickly professional ethics could be adjusted when potential profit was involved. He offered me an interview. Congratulations. He also mentioned that other firms might be interested if it turns out I was unfairly excluded from certain business circles. I understood now. This wasn't about money or missed opportunities. This was about reputation rehabilitation. She was positioning herself as the wronged wife who'd been kept in the dark, rather than the woman who'd publicly humiliated her husband. Smart strategy, actually. So what happens next? I asked. That depends on you. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Define easy. You call your father. You explain that our divorce is amicable, that I was never aware of family business connections, and that any perceived slights were based on incomplete information. You make it clear that there are no hard feelings and that I should be judged on my professional merits, not on personal misunderstandings. And if I don't, then my lawyer files a claim for concealed assets and we let the courts decide what I'm entitled to, which would be a very public process, by the way. Local business journals love stories about prominent families and messy divorces. There it was, blackmail wrapped in legal terminology. I thought about my father, about the reputation he'd spent decades building, about the business relationships that could be affected by tabloid coverage of family drama. She knew exactly what leverage she had. But then I thought about something else. I thought about standing in that hotel hallway, being told I didn't belong. I thought about 3 years of marriage to someone who measured my worth by what I could do for her ambitions. I thought about the choice between protecting my family's reputation and protecting my own self-respect. You know what's funny? I said finally. What's funny? You still don't get it. Even now, even after losing your job and facing a divorce and having your professional reputation destroyed, you still think this is about money and connections and social climbing. This is about fairness. This is about character. And the fact that you're threatening to drag my family through public scandal to salvage your career just proves that I made the right decision. So that's your answer? You're going to let me file the claim? I looked at the divorce papers again, then at the phone in my hand. Go ahead and file, I said calmly. But before you do, you might want to ask your lawyer about something. What? Ask him what happens when the defendant in a concealed assets case decides to countersue for defamation and extortion. Ask him how that plays in the local business community. Ask him what kind of settlement offers tend to get made when one party threatens to publicize private family matters for personal gain. She was quiet for so long I thought the call had dropped. You wouldn't. Try me. This would hurt your family too. My family has dealt with business challenges before. We'll survive some bad publicity. Can you say the same about your career if this turns into a real legal battle? More silence, then a bitter laugh. So this is how it ends? You destroy my professional life and then threaten to destroy whatever's left. I didn't destroy anything. You did that yourself the moment you decided I wasn't worth treating with basic respect. Everything that's happened since then is just the natural consequence of that decision. And you're just going to walk away feeling righteous about it. I'm going to walk away knowing that I tried to build a marriage with someone who was more interested in what I could provide than who I actually was. That's not righteousness. That's just clarity. I could hear her breathing, probably trying to figure out if there was any angle left to play. The papers will be filed by the end of the week, I said. After that, you're free to do whatever you think is best for your future. Just understand that I'll be equally free to respond however I think is best for mine. This isn't over. Yes, it is. It was over the moment you asked me to use the service exit. Everything since then has just been paperwork. I hung up and looked around my home office, my space, my choices, my life moving forward without the constant calculation of how every decision might affect someone else's professional ambitions. For the first time in months, the silence felt peaceful instead of tense. 3 days later, I got a text message, papers signed. No contest. Moving to Portland next month. I deleted the message and went back to work. Sometimes the best victory is just being free to live your life on your own terms. Outside my window, normal people were living normal lives, probably not dealing with emergency board meetings or divorce lawyers or reputation management strategies. I'd forgotten what that felt like. It felt good to remember.